So water heater construction. I'm showing a traditional electric water heater. The first major component is the outer cosmetic shell. This is just the aesthetic outer casing of the water heater. If you cut open the water heater and look on the inside, what you'll see is a pretty significant layer of insulation. And as the name implies, the purpose of that insulation is to keep the water inside the tank hot. And so the storage water heater is heating the water, and then it's storing that hot water heater for use whenever it's demanded by the homeowner or whoever's taking a shower or at the sink. Then there's the inner tank. This is typically a non-corrosion resistant steel, and because it's non-corrosion resistant, there has to be some sort of corrosion protection, and the majority of water heaters that manifests as tank coating. So there's and that's the blue coating you see on the inside of the tank. It's a porcelain enamel coating, and then there is a secondary anode rod. The steel tank coating is the primary means of protection. It's intended to cover the entire inside wetted surface of the tank. The reality is, due to quality issues that water heater manufacturers have, sometimes there's areas that are not coated on the inside of the tank, or there's coating defects, which create areas of the tank that are left unprotected, which is why that secondary anode protection is put inside the water heater. We'll get into this a lot in a second here when we're talking about the water heater corrosion. There's a cold water dip tube, and so as I mentioned previously, the water inside of a water tank is heated and it's left hot, ready for when it's called into action, when somebody turns on a hot water faucet. And when that happens, the hot water is pulled directly out of the top of the tank. Now, why is that? Well, as the water inside the tank is heated, natural buoyancy causes the hot water to rise to the top of the tank. And that way, when you have a shower, you don't want cold water that comes into the tank to mix with that hot water at the top. And otherwise, you'd have a lukewarm, at best, shower. And so the tank is designed so that all the cold water gets sent directly to the bottom. It doesn't mix with the hot water at the top that you're using. And now eventually you can exhaust all the hot water. And so the tank completely fills with that cold water or warm water. And that's kind of your signal to end your shower. But that's the purpose of the cold water dip tube. There's a temperature and pressure relief valve. And this device is a purely safety device. It's never intended to be called into action. Its primary function is to prevent water heater explosion. We'll talk more about that device as we get into its associated failures. There's a heating mechanism, and so in this case, it's an electric water heater, so you have the electric heating element as the heating mechanism. But there's also natural gas burners, fuel oil, and even indirect water heaters, which I'll show some cutaways so you kind of get an idea of how these work. And then the drain valve. So the drain valve is used primarily to drain the water heater if you're moving it, or if you're periodically draining sediment that may be collected at the bottom of it.